Hi beautiful, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to do another try on and really make the KOSAS Revealer Concealer work, because in my previous video, which is a full face of KOSAS Beauty, I mentioned that I hated the way it looked on my under eye specifically, and I also did an Instagram post doing like a recap review of this concealer and the tinted face oil. Now the KOSAS Cosmetics Instagram replied that the way you apply this concealer is to dot a little bit on your under eye and let it sit for a few seconds before you blend it. That way you get the coverage that you want, and also it blends a lot better and it won't budge, because this is a creamy formula which is comparable to the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. They kind of have the same idea of letting it sit first before you blend it straight away to be able to get the full capacity of the concealer. So for those of you who don't know, KOSAS Beauty recently came out with a concealer, and this is what it looks like. And this is their Revealer Concealer. I think it comes in a few shades. I will put in the screen how many shades specifically. I have the shade 05, and a lot of people are saying that the concealer runs a little bit yellow, which I personally agree, but not all of them, because I really have a strong yellow undertone, and tone 05 is a little bit more on the neutral yellow side as opposed to it being straight like golden yellow. So it comes with a doe foot applicator. What I love about this doe foot applicator is that you only have to dip once, and it actually carries a lot of product from the tube. As you can see, like, you could definitely do a few swipes. The doe foot applicator is a little bit flexible, so it's not uncomfortable when you apply it on the under eye. If you blend it, it's so creamy. It has a little bit of a thicker formula, which I tend to be iffy about when it comes to concealers, because I do have fine lines, and tendencies are it can sink into my fine lines straight away, making it look a little bit cakey and aged. So I've already applied my base for this video. I just used a BB cream from Misha. So I'm going to follow what the KOSAS person said. I'm going to dot a little bit here, here, and on here where I really want that coverage. I'm not gonna apply a lot because this concealer gives you a very intense full coverage, so a little goes a really long way to avoid that really heavy cakey feeling. So I'm gonna let that sit for maybe 30 seconds or so. I'm sure there's a lot of ways into doing this, but personally for me, I can just fan it out. And now that has synced into our skin, I'm going to try and blend it out. I personally like using a sponge to blend out my concealers. If you compare this side to this side right here is a little bit more lifted, it's a little bit more concealed, though you could still see a little bit of like darkness on this area right here. I have like a dry patch on this area right here. The concealer kind of accentuated that area. For that amount of product, I don't see that it's a full coverage. Maybe it's like a medium coverage, so I'm definitely needing to apply a little bit more. Blendability wise, it blends pretty good. It's so smooth, and also it looks hydrated and luminous, except for the fact that it kind of clung onto that dry patches there, which is kind of annoying. So what I'm going to do is to add a little bit more just on this area that is really dark, and then while I wait for that to sit, I'm going to apply a little bit on this side, same amount as we did on the first go, and let that sit, and then I'm going to proceed to blend this side. I can definitely tell that it did cover my dark circles a lot better than before, but I could still see a little bit of cast on this area. That's just like how dark my under eyes are. So if you were to go in with this concealer, I suggest use a corrector first, especially if you have like really dark bluish undertone on your under eye. But for the most part, I'm kind of happy with how that looks. We'll just have to see how it reacts with powder. The longer you let the concealer sit, the better the coverage you get and the better the blendability you get. But personally, this is not the type of concealer where you can just pop and go because of the waiting time and all that. This is more so a concealer for those who has got more time in their hands to get ready. I personally would rather have a concealer that I could apply and wait for at least 10 seconds and blend straight away, as opposed to me waiting for at least 30 seconds to blend everything. One complaint that I did mention on my previous video when I wore this concealer is that as soon as I set it with translucent powder, it kind of enhanced the dark circles that I had, and for some reason it oxidized. So we'll see if it's going to do that. I'm just gonna set it with a little bit of the ColourPop No Filter powder, and I'm going to just dot that much. I'm not going to bake because this concealer is already heavy on my under eye. I kind of just want to apply a decent amount of powder. So this application is a lot better now that I've learned how to work my way around the formula of the concealer. It definitely looks a lot smoother than my initial review. I could already see that my fine line starts to cake up, especially on this side right here and this side, and the concealer does not feel heavy, but it looks heavy on my under eye, which is strange because I did say the same thing on my previous video, but then I kind of let the concealer work its magic throughout the day. I have to physically pile on a lot of illuminating powder to get the finish that I wanted. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just gonna quickly finish up the rest of my face and I will share with you how everything looks once that's all done. So here is what my face looks like up close with all my makeup done. My under eye definitely looks pretty like bright from looking at it on the viewfinder, but looking up close, you can definitely tell that I'm wearing like a full coverage concealer, and also like it started to sink into the fine line straight away, which is very interesting because I have used a few drugstore concealers that offers full coverage, but it doesn't do that. But I mean, hey, this is just like an initial thought, so maybe later on at the end of the day it will look a lot better. So the time right now is 11 a.m. so I will check back with you at the end of the day to see how the concealer holds up. Hi beautiful, I'm here to check in with you guys. The time right now is just after 2 p.m. and I've been wearing the concealer for 3 hours, and this is what it's currently looking like. I'm obviously a little bit shiny now on the rest of my face, but on the eyes it still looks pretty matte, but I could see like creasing on the eyes. But when I look from afar, it's not terrible. It's just when you look closely, like the foundation, I mean the concealer has definitely sinked into my fine lines, but it's nothing that I could not fix. The darkness is still a little bit there, like there's like that hollow line. So yeah, I will check back with you at the end of the day to see how everything goes. Hi beautiful, I'm back for the final check-in, and the time today is 6:55 p.m. and I've just finished work. So let's see how the concealer held up. I'm definitely still matte around my under eye area. The coverage is still there, and as expected, at the end of the day it started to gather along my fine lines. The cakiness that I had on this bit right here as I was applying the concealer has definitely disappeared. I feel like it had something to do with my oils coming through and kind of blended the concealer into my skin. So yeah, nothing much has changed really, except for the fact that I changed the way I applied the concealer. And also I did set it a little bit with a translucent powder and then luminous powder on top. I actually prefer the finish that it gives now as opposed to it being firstly applied. I'm glad that I was able to try it for the second time and kind of change up my application and how I blend it in with the foundation and the rest of my makeup. I wouldn't say that the concealer is a good pick whenever you want to have a quick on-the-go makeup. Overall, I would probably rate this concealer a 3.5 out of 5. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you find this a little bit informative in a way, and let me know down below any tips and tricks on how to make the concealer work. I will catch you on the next video. Bye.